Welcome to a quick longer one with Ed Parnell. We were going to call it a longer quick one with Ed Parnell, but it got kind of confusing and it was difficult to pronounce, and I had 6 or 7 takes trying to get that right. So it's a quick longer one with Ed Parnell rather than a longer quick one with Ed Parnell. Okay? Okay.
When the pager goes off, I don't know who will need rescuing. It could be someone like her, or him, or them, or someone you love. And when we get that call, we'll answer it, day or night, rain or shine. As volunteers, we don't ask to be paid. All we do ask for is the kit, training and backup that keeps us ready and safe. And as a charity, the RNLI depends on donations from kind people like you to help us save lives.
You could help us save the next life at sea by searching RNLI and giving £3 a month now. Our lifesavers stand ready to answer the call for help 24/7. But after a year like no other, we're facing our busiest time. So we need your help right now. Please search RNLI to give £3 a month.
Your donation will help keep us ready to answer the next call.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about the RNLI, or as we like to call it, RNLI, who have improved their advertising considerably since this monstrosity that bestrode our television screens during my youth.
Oh, it's ever so nice and peaceful up here, Joe. Nice view, too.
Ah, very nice, Petunia. And look at that nice little boat. He's having a lot of fun out there in his little dinghy. That's what they call them, you know, sailing dinghies.
Are they nice people at our hotel, Joe?
Hello. Now he's flexing his mainbrains.
Though I don't think the man on table number 6 is very nice.
Do you think he's in trouble, Petunia?
Oh, no, Joe. He's just enjoying himself on holiday.
Oh, he's decided to have a swim. Now he's going to climb back again. I expect that water's a bit cold, don't you? Oh, he's changed his mind. Now he's waving to us. Go it! I can't say I reckon.
I had to fade it there because otherwise I couldn't take any more of that dramatic and convincing dialogue and the animation. Disney obviously really sweating now. The RNI is a saviour to some, a devil incarnate to others. The Royal National Lifeboat Institution is the largest lifeboat service operating around the coast of the United Kingdom, the Republic of Ireland, the Channel Islands and the Isle of Man, as well as some inland waterways. Go on, name another one. Go on. I bet you can't. You can't do it, can you? You can't do it. You can't. You can't do it. No, because they're the only ones. Except for the Coast Guard. But with the cutbacks in public services over recent years, the RNLI have become the main response service to those in distress at the sea, because the government, for some reason, doesn't view drowning citizens to be a particularly important thing to respond to, as opposed to, say, invitations to all-you-can-eat banquets or free football tickets. It relies entirely on the goodwill and dedication of the volunteers and donations from the public. And because it relies on a finite pool of money, it's not unlimited. Unlike, say, ministers' expense accounts, for example. Now, this year, 2024, marks 200 years since it was incepted as the National Institution for the Preservation of Life from a Shipwreck. Catchy title, and if there's one thing going to discourage you from getting on a boat, it's the word shipwreck in the rescue service. It's up there with shark-infested water, and yes, the toaster is quite safe next to the taps, thank you very much. It soon afterwards became the Royal National Institution for the Preservation of Life from Shipwreck because of the patronage of King George IV. The service is actually still patronised in a good way by King Charles III. I don't mean he just comes along and says, "Oh, you're doing very, very well, little man. Oh, well done, let me shake your hand." I mean, he actually supports it, although technically he could do both. He could be the Swiss Army knife of monarchs, both patron and patronising. The organisation changed its name to the Royal National Lifeboat Institution on the 5th of October 1854 and was granted a royal charter in 1860. Notice how the word shipwreck was quietly dropped from the moniker. It's like if Uber called their cabs transport without the murdering. It just wouldn't sell. It places the idea in your head. The service is mainly based in Poole in Dorset, and 30% of its funding comes from people's wills. The other 65% comes from donations to the public, although in recent years, with the onset of xenophobia encouraged by certain figures in the political world, I'm not talking about anyone in particular there, Nigel. A few people have voiced disquiet about the service rescuing migrants and cancelled their donations, which is great, because every time those people cancel their donations, the RNLI picks up more donations from people who say, hey, saving people's lives is a good thing. Who wants funding for a bunch of racists anyway? It's not like somebody's getting early-stage hypothermia and struggling to stay afloat and the man on the boat says, can I see your ticket? I've got to see your ticket before you can get on. I'm sorry, it's the rules. It doesn't work like that, and if you're struggling to stay alive, the last thing you want to think about is paperwork. Now, for every foamy-mouthed bigot, there's normally a couple of other people who will donate, as I said before, not only because they are better people and can see the value of what the RNLI does, because nothing pisses off a right-winger more than when their lack of humanity backfires in their stupid, chinless faces. They foam at the mouth so much you could actually launch a boat from that. And just as if you needed reminding, here's the sort of work that the RNLI does.
It's okay, you're alright. You okay? You're alright.
Come on, it's alright.
Fine, you okay?
Pull up down it. Come on, sweetheart. Come on.
What's your
It's
name?
alright. Sit there.
What's your
Safe now, aren't you? Come on. We'll get you back to your parents, yeah?
Okay.
That's ambulance back that. Ambulance.
That's a child of 6 years old. 6 years old, she's got on a lilo, it's floated out to sea and is clearly terrified. Without the RNLI, she would have just floated off and never would have been seen again. And that's the sort of situation the RNLI deals with. And the sort of thing people who say, arrest the RNLI, never seems to occur to him that this sort of thing is much more common than they think. The donations to the service funded that little girl's rescue and probably saved her life, almost unquestionably so. So when short-sighted or hard-of-thinking people say it should be defunded or arrest a lot of them or they're committing a crime and should be locked up, that's the sort of thing that they're against, because only a tiny amount of the RNLI's work is actually rescuing people in small boats. The rest of it is people who've run into trouble, ships that have overturned, lilos where people have got stuck out at sea, or people who have gone swimming and got caught in the undercurrent and got way out of their depth. The donations to the service funded that little girl's rescue and probably saved her life. In fact, it's not a question of probably, it almost certainly did. And it's not an issue of where people come from or what colour they are. It's a question of helping somebody in trouble. That's a basic human reaction of compassion, which these people seem to lack. And it's made possible with funding from generous patrons. Here's Michael. Michael has another story.
You expect to be able to survive every situation. This is the first time I've honestly felt that I was in real difficulty. My life was in danger. I was out with a friend. We were for a morning swim. It was a little bit rough. We were treading water because it's a bit rocky underfoot, and we got out of our depth. Adam got back in, but I couldn't get back in, and it was extremely scary. I'm a pretty strong swimmer, and I just wasn't making any progress. That's the time I thought, I'm in trouble here. I shouted and waved to my friend. I thought my best hope is to try and get in safe position and wait for the RNLI to come and get me. And then it kicked back the training we had in Scarborough. I learned about the float to live technique. The thing that really stuck with me was if you did get into difficulties, you've got to stay calm and get in a really good float to live position. It's the best way of staying alive, really. I think everyone has a slightly different technique with the float to live. I've got quite heavy legs, so I have to wiggle my legs around a little bit more than others. But the key thing is to get your head back and your ears just covered by the water. And that means your chest can be a little bit further up and you're a little bit more buoyant. So you're not having to work as hard to keep buoyant as you would when you're treading water. When I saw the RNLI approaching, it's such a moment. You just think, right, I'm going to be safe now. The lovely orange boat, it's my favourite colour anyway, but it's even more my favourite colour now. I waved just to make sure that they could see me as well as me seeing them. Experience the sea, experience the water. It's absolutely fantastic. It makes you feel great, but have the tools so that if you do get into difficulties, you've got the best chance of surviving through Float to Live. Float to Live helped me stay calm and save my life.
And that could happen to anyone. He got out of his depth. He was overconfident, went too far, but thanks to his flotation training from the RNLI, he actually managed to stay alive long enough for them to get to the boat. He's still alive now, by the way. Nothing's actually happened to him. But he's ever grateful to the RNLI, because if he hadn't had that training and they hadn't responded to the call and they weren't there, neither would he be.
However you end up in the water this summer, if you get into difficulty, float to live. Tilt your head back with your ears submerged. Relax and try to breathe normally. Move your hands to help you stay afloat. Remember it, share it, float to live.
Now, this year, the RNLI is 200 years old. It was set up, strangely enough, in 1824, which coincidentally is 200 years ago. There's a kind of symmetry there, don't you think? It followed a series of shipping accidents which happened from 1822 onwards, and a loss of life over the previous couple of years inspired a local man called William Hillary to appeal to the British nation to establish a national institution for the preservation of life and property from shipwreck. Now, initially, he received no response really of any value from the Admiralty. Nowadays, he'd probably still be on hold waiting to talk to somebody before the line went dead. But he got together with a merchant called George Hibbert and an MP called Thomas Wilson. They helped to bring support from some influential people, including King George IV. I mean, that is some heavy support there, isn't it? Getting the king involved. But it didn't stop there. Other royalty, leading politicians and merchants all suddenly thought saving lives might actually be quite a useful and good thing to do. And that by simply mitigating the risk, by having a rescue service if people did run into a problem, people would be less likely to find washed-up corpses on the beach. It's a win-win. They held a public meeting that was convened at the London Tavern on the 4th of March 1824 and chaired by none other than the then Archbishop of Canterbury. And a resolution was passed to form the National Institution for the Preservation of Life from Shipwreck. Now, King George IV gave approval for the word royal to be added on the 20th of March 1824, thus becoming the Royal National Institution for the Preservation of Life from Shipwreck. Curiously, adding the word royal means that they have used the service, but despite enormous internet searches on almost every engine you can imagine, I can't find any evidence about King George IV floating out to sea on a lilo. Since then, over 146,000 lives have been saved by the RNLI. That's 2 a day for 200 years. And again, it makes no difference if you're British or not, or where you come from, or what your background is. The ability to breathe underwater does not have a nationality preference. And the ability, by the way, is none. Oh, unless you're the man from Atlantis, that is. For those who don't know, that was the theme from the spectacularly bad Man from Atlantis, starring Patrick Duffy, which just appeared to him to be splashing about with some eels for a bit. And as you can imagine, the titles feature people looking at each other and smiling for no apparent reason, and a man picking up the phone whose unforgettable name is Alan Fudge. Sorry. As I said before, it's very easy to get into trouble in the water. Perhaps you get cramp when you're out swimming and you can't get back to the shore or back to safety, and there's no place for you to get back up on land to nurse your aching muscle. This is the sort of call that the RNLI receives on a regular basis.
Coast Guard Rescue.
Hi, there's an old couple stuck in the sea along Rockinore in Hastings.
Sorry, who's stuck in the sea?
There's a couple, they're quite old.
Yeah.
And my friends have just seen them and they've asked for help.
Oh, they've asked for help, have they?
Yeah.
Okay. And are they actually in the water?
Yes, they are.
Okay, they're in the water. Okay, no problem. Just bear with me. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this created, and then so we can get help coming to them. Okay. Just to confirm, is it 2 people?
Yeah, it's a woman and a man.
2 people, woman and man. Okay. Okay. If you want to tell them that help is being organised, okay, then if you're able to get that message out to them, then do so, okay. Can you give me a description of them, please?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to them.
That's okay. Are you in the water yourself?
No, we were on like the arm bit and we just sit there.
Do not enter the water, okay, and tell people with you do not enter the water. We are organising help. And can you so you say it's one man and one woman?
Yeah.
Are you able to describe them for me?
Yes, so I'm just trying to get over to them.
If you can't see them, don't worry. Do not put yourself in any danger, okay?
Yeah, a lot of my friends are down there and can see them.
Right, okay.
It's got grey hair.
Yeah.
I think they're on the rocks now, like hidden behind it.
Right.
Nearest rocks.
Right. Okay. What we are going to do, we are going to still keep everything running to them because we do need to get obviously need to make sure that they are okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the weather like where you are?
It's a bit windy. It's not cold necessarily.
No. Okay.
It's just windy, and the sea looks a bit rough.
Right. Okay, no problem. Are your friends able to get any messages to them? Do you know if they need any medical assistance or anything like that, or what's happening now?
I'll ask. Do they need any medical assistance? No, they seem to be all right.
They seem to be okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are they still on the rocks?
I don't know. Are they on the rocks? They're on the rocks.
They are on the rocks. Okay. Are they able to get back to the beach?
Are they able to climb up? No.
No, okay, can't climb up. Okay, what we need to do is that we need to get a message to them to tell them to stay where they are, do not move. We do have a lifeboat coming for them, okay?
Yeah.
So if you could tell your friends that to get that message down to them.
Yeah, guys.
And that's where the whole thing links together. It can be very easy to go on a walk on a pier or on a seafront and end up locked in by the sea. The tide can move a lot quicker than you would think. The RNLI also provides lifeguards at over 250 beaches across the UK. That's over 7,700 miles of coastline that the RNLI are responsible for. And while the rescue boats are maintained by the volunteers and are funded by the donations, the lifeguards are actually on a wage. Otherwise, it would just be one man hanging around watching people on a beach, and that always works out well. This is another call I think it's important to listen to get some sort of impression of what the RNLI actually does. It's kind of distressing, so have a listen.
My good children are 10 and 12.
10 and 12, are the good swimmers?
I can't see them anymore.
Don't worry, we'll be getting some assistance out to you now. Okay, my colleagues are working in the background, they're getting you some assistance, okay?
My husband is out in the sea trying to find them, he can't see them. I think they're way out of the depths. The second we noticed they're in trouble, I phoned in.
So my colleagues have taken multiple calls as well, okay? So they are aware of it. There's a lifeboat on the way. The lifeboat will be there shortly. We've also got a Coast Guard rescue team coming to your location as well. Barmouth lifeboat, they've already launched, okay? They should be coming out just from behind you, so they should come past you shortly.
Please tell me she's breathing.
Yes.
Shall I?
Don't worry, Million, as I said, they'll be there very, very shortly. They've already launched, okay? Just keep looking out to me, Melina. Keep obviously speaking to me. Keep telling me what you can see. Can we see the lifeboat now? Should be orange. I know it feels like a really long time. The lifeboat is just marked down as on scene now. So the lifeboat is in the area. So they'll be out looking at the moment.
I think my husband, one of my children are walking back now. It's mostly the other child. I think one of my children got swept further because my husband is one of my children.
How are your husband and daughter doing? Are they okay?
They're fine. I'm just so terrified. We're fine. Where's my other one?
Going to pass that message on to the Coast Guard that your husband and 10-year-old daughter are now safe with you on the pier. So the lifeboat has picked up one person. Okay. So the lifeboat has got one person on board.
The guy from Coast Guard walked up to us and they've got Mabel. They've got her. They've got my older daughter. That's what he said.
Yeah, so all persons have been located. One is with mum and dad. The other is with the lifeboat crew at the moment. We're going to all make our way up to the lifeboat station. The one on board the ILB will receive assessment from the ambulance.
Hiya, Melina. Right, we all happy then that everyone's been located?
Great, thank you very much for having me. I'm really grateful.
No problem at all.
That was amazing. Imagine the fear that lady had, and her child is out at sea, and the absolute panic in her voice. I mean, you could hear it, and you heard her relief as well, and the kind of work and skills involved, both from the call handler who managed to calm the lady down and the lifeboat crew actually going out there and doing the work and rescuing her daughter. If the service didn't exist, that story might have ended very differently. And that's what it's about. But using the word volunteers is kind of loose. It sounds like they're in charge of a church jumble sale or managing the string cupboard at a scout hut. It's so much more than that. They're trained to a very high degree, as this clip shows. OK, maybe that's a little bit too visual for a sound-only podcast. Perhaps we could have another one. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Perry Simpson and I'm one of the sea survival trainers here at the RNLI's Lifeboat College in Poole in Dorset. Some time ago MDL came to us and requested to put together a training package to give their guys confidence if they fell into the water from their pontoons. We put together this package which consists of 4 hours worth of training, a couple of hours spent in the classroom doing some theory, and then a couple of hours in the water building confidence in their kit, equipment, and most importantly, their life jackets. In the classroom, the guys are going to be covering things such as cold water shock and the effects of hypothermia on the body. Also, what we're going to be looking at is the use of flares, potentially, and also how to put together a life jacket. So the guys go across to the Sea Survival Centre behind me and put together a life jacket which they're going to be using in the water later on.
To use it, you can see that salt tablet's been used, it's dissolved. Once the salt tablet actually dissolves, it releases that spring which pushes onto the little saddle you can see in here, which then pushes the needle up, which pierces the cylinder, which essentially inflates your jacket. So it's fairly quick as to how quickly these automatically go off. Once that salt tablet's dissolved, lets a little bit of water in there, the salt tablet dissolves, releases that spring, and it pops up and inflates your jacket.
As you can see, the training course is pretty severe. It's 4 days long, there's plenty of theory work, and don't forget these people are volunteers. They're doing it out of the goodness of their own hearts, maybe to give something back to the community, or simply because they're decent people. Whatever the motivation, it seems, no matter how much good a service actually does, for some people it's simply not enough. Despite the service being for everyone, the media seems intent on painting the RNLI as pandering exclusively for the small boat situation, something which is patently untrue. People in trouble are people in trouble, but untrue things never stop a malicious rumour.
There has to be, meanwhile, what do you do about the ones that are on the sea, in the sea? Let them drown?
Look, the difficulty with this is, this is human tragedy at its sort of, most sort of exposed kind of evil that these people are trading in, these racketeers.
Yeah, but there's still some obligation on us as civilized individuals to rescue them, surely.
Our obligation is to make sure that we educate those people not to take that sort of risk, and to make sure that they are accommodated properly and then returned to their villages.
Now, to be absolutely fair to him, Nadim Zhawi was talking about problems in the Med with the migrant crisis there. But it's much the same here. The RNLI does a good job, but remember they're teamed by volunteers. Demonising people who aren't paid to be there is probably the most tricky thing you can do. It demotivates people, and if the service wasn't there, a lot of people would suffer. And politicians aren't the worst of it, but they do encourage social media, which has entire collectives of hard-of-thinking people who post anything from the cruel to the bizarre. One account from Dorset, an anonymous account, made a post about when Queen Elizabeth II died and managed to connect that event to the RNLI. They wrote, "Even as the nation grieves, the RNLI is still providing its migrant taxi service." Now that's some pretty strong trolling there, especially for a service which, it has to be said, provides 365 24 hours a day cover around the entire British coastline. The RNLI inshore rescue hovercraft can reach areas inaccessible to conventional lifeboats, making the following rescues possible. A walk on the beach turned into an emergency for 2 dog walkers after they found themselves stuck in the mud and up to their waist in water in Liso Bay. The dogs were understandably keen to be with the casualties. Morecambe Hovercraft launched in search of a capsized kayaker. Stranded and cold, the casualty was found and taken back to safety. 3 sisters got into serious danger when the tide swept in. They held onto a buoy, but the 2 of the girls lost their grip and drifted away. One of the crew jumped in to rescue the sister holding the buoy, and the hovercraft moved to aid the other 2 sisters. All 3 sisters were rescued and taken to onshore for a checkover. Holly Lake Hovercraft crew assisted the rescue of 2 horses stuck in the mud. 1,432 launches, 1,230 people aided, 78 lives saved, all made possible thanks to the public support. The RNLI continues its excellent work throughout the UK, providing safety and security for people who may get out of their depth or may find themselves in a tricky situation off the coast. And we take our hats off to the volunteers and you, the public, who donate to them. Thank you for listening. My name's Ed Parnell, and this has been a longer quick one with Ed Parnell or a quick longer one with Ed Parnell. It's your choice.